Hello, friends. Episode 40. I know. It feels like we've been doing this for a year now.
Almost, but yeah.
It's a little disappointing tonight. Originally, we were going to try to get 40s of Michigan beer to drink on the show. And we couldn't track anything down. We were trying to track down some 40s of Schlitz or something. Couldn't make it happen. So you're going to be subjected to us drinking, homebrew as per usual. But darn,
I can't even do that unless I crack into your shit, though.
It's only appropriate because tonight we're having KLOB on, which is the Kalamazoo LIbation of Brewers, Kalamazoo's oldest homebrew club.
They are. I think most of us got our start in KLOB. Some of us are still in KLOB.
Yeah. We'll have Drew, Jeff, and potentially Bryon on. I think Bryon's been working on some audio issues, but we'll see how it goes in a sec here. But I don't know. You guys want to bring him on?
Yeah, let's get him. So we got Jeff Groff, who is the treasurer, and Drew Hutchison, who is the secretary of KLOB. And then we're going to add Bryon to stream. We just watch him fix his technical issues. That's Bryon Sealing. Oh, and there's Bryon.
There he is.
Yeah, I'll have to get. I'll be changing my shit as we go because it's just a fucking mess here.
No worries. Hey, we can hear you now.
There we go.
You do whatever you have to, man. Just work it out. So what are you guys drinking? Who's drinking what tonight? Bryon, that doesn't look like homebrew.
No, this is actually I don't want to drink that one first. I want to drink this one. I went to Homes like a week or so ago, and I
nice.
Swung in there, grabbed a bunch of cans, and got we were on a mission. So, I love Homes beer. It's always good.
I believe the sentiment around is it's probably one of the best breweries in Michigan. So yeah.
That's what David Jones will tell you.
Yeah,
David Jones.
He loves that place.
Almost every time he goes to Homes, he posts that. It's the best goddamn brewery in Michigan. Prove me wrong. How about you, Drew? What are you drinking?
Currently, I'm drinking a jalapa from One Well. I mean, so good. Can you do better? I've tried, and I can't. I made a jalapeno beer last summer, and it was okay, but man, it like when you have really great jalapeno beers to like just rely on all the time, it becomes like, why do I try doing this thing? I should just try and do something else, I would be drinking homebrew except for my burner is burnt, so I'm in the process of upgrading, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but you can't get homebrew equipment right now. You can, but you can't like I tried to upgrade my system, like do a complete upgrade, and it's like there's like a 3 to 4 week back order on some things, and I was like, great, this would be fun. So
if you need one,
hobbies.
thank you. I probably will, because big brew day is coming up, and what's a guy gonna do?
I'm assuming you've tried Adventures in Homebrewing.
They do. If I want to go trekking out there, I could probably pick one up. Yeah.
I got mine there. It works pretty well.
What about you, Jeff?
I'm drinking an Imperial Porter made by Schmaltz. I actually have a case I had sitting around for a while, so I decided to start drinking it up.
Nice.
Where's
Schmaltz? Homebrewers striking out on homebrew already.
Yeah. Schmaltz.
Sorry, Jeff, go for it.
No, I think that this thing think they have multiple locations, but I think this is in New York.
Okay.
I remember.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I always feel like the time when I should be brewing the most is sometime between like January and now. And it's always the time when I don't, and I always have no beer at this point in time, like on a seasonal cycle. Yep. And then May comes around, and I've got more beer than I know what to do with, because I just start brewing like a mad person until about November, December, and then I don't know, life gets in the way.
Are you like an outside brewer too, for the most part?
Yeah.
So that's my life too. I get your time schedule for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I have no problems brewing in the cold. I just like, I don't know. I work at a college, and like life picks up again in January, and it's downhill from there.
Perfect. Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to brew outside when it's in the negatives.
I mean, just adventure, man. That's the whole idea.
Hey, as long as it's 20 degrees outside, I can hold my mash.
Yeah. When it's 20 below, your chill happens quickly too. I know that.
Yep.
What are you guys talking about? I brew in my kitchen, man. I'm telling you, you guys are missing out.
Oh, look at us all fancy. We have a kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have a kitchen? We got a ramen pot and that's it. I eat ramen.
Nope. I've always brewed in my kitchen. I don't do this outdoor shit. I don't know what you guys are talking about. That's crazy talk there in the winter.
Have you
I
had
know you have
a
like a-
5-gallon batch boil over in your kitchen though?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, it's but I bought my stove specifically for brewing.
Oh.
I really did. It is my kitchen, and my wife will agree to that.
That's so awesome.
And I've actually have had a carboy break in my kitchen, flood my kitchen. First words out of my wife's mouth were grab a camera. So she's a good woman.
That's love and support right there. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. What about you, Jordan? You haven't been on the show in like 8 months, it feels like. What the fuck? You've been sick in life, and
I
now
think
you're
you're
muted.
He had
No,
a really
he's not
good
muted,
report,
he's
but it was missed by technical faux pas.
Can't hear you, Jordan.
At all.
Oh, there we are. There we are. How about that? Too many mute buttons going on here. I got too much. I haven't used my equipment in so long, as you were saying. No, I've got not homebrew, so I'm gonna continue the strikeout. I tried some of the Kirkland Session IPA, the Citra hop stuff, and that's what I have.
How is it?
It's not bad. I enjoy it. I mean, for what, $20 for a 24 pack, like, not bad.
That's
That's pretty solid.
Kirkland, like Costco.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own beer brand now.
Yep.
That's fucking
The
awesome.
can's kind
Holy
of
shit.
weird
wow.
too.
Can I
Yeah.
propose episode 41? You guys go out and just get every Costco beer you can find.
Costco and Aldi, I think.
Oh shit!
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys should do that.
Aldi.
Can I come? This
All
sounds
right,
like a great
Aldi
time.
has some pretty legit
absolutely.
beers.
I'll just
Yeah.
invite
Yeah.
myself over. It'll be fine.
I did not know about this. I knew. I mean, of course, I knew about Aldi's wine because you can't beat it. But Aldi
Right.
beer.
I know Trader Joe's has beer too. At that point.
I don't know if it's still out, but you get that Walmart Rockdale Light. It came out like some years ago. I don't know if it's still a thing. The Walmart
Wow.
brand.
This is turning into an episode. I mean, it doesn't, I guess, have to be.
Hey, here's a bunch of
Fucking bought
homebrewers.
it.
Let's talk about store brand beer. Let's go.
Yeah.
Cheap stuff too.
Get your crumbs.
Wasn't Trader Joe's like big thing? Weren't they doing like Belgian beers for a while? Or like
Yeah,
there was like some Belgian brewer that was doing their
That would
beer.
make sense.
Man.
I think I bought a pale ale from them at one point. It was okay. I wasn't like super pumped about it, so I used it for cooking. Like I was like, all right, this is fine. But it did, like, for a pale ale, it had a lot of like Belgian flavors and like notes. If that makes sense. So there were some similarities, which would make, so as you say that, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds accurate. My taste buds are remembering that as you say those things out loud.
I haven't
I
had
think
it.
I
just
have a
remember
large
reading.
format sour from Trader Joe's.
Any good?
I'm trying to.
I haven't drank it yet. It's probably been sitting in my cellar for like 2 years. I've
That's a night, Brian.
Ooh, it's been aged. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah. I do have copious amounts of beer around me, and I'm still drinking shit out of cans right now. Aaron.
Don't you have like 600 bottles of
You
wine
look
in your
behind.
basement too?
Yeah, I do. But I've got a whole stack of kegs, like in here behind me. I think I'm redoing my basement right now, so I got some sour over there
Oh my
with some
God.
big
Nice.
funk growing
Wow.
on top of it. I've got probably half a dozen carboys of stuff. But lately, I've just been redoing my basement. It's been a huge project, and I'm on the home stretch. I've got my floor all stripped down. All I got to do is level it. I got to paint that door that's back behind me because it's still that baby shit brown. It's one of the last things in this room that's that ugly ass
Yes,
color.
It looks good. Though.
And then it'll be done. Then I'll be able to start laying some furniture out here. Get Keezer back up and running. I've right now I've only got 6 beers on tap rather than everything that I usually have. But
That's impressive still.
Yeah.
I was just complaining. I have no beers on tap. Brian's like, I got 6. It's low. I'm like,
well, that and I just end up with like right now I've got a cider, a stack of sours, and a barley wine. So it's really not really a broad selection of stuff. I really need to get a nice crispy blonde or a golden ale on tap, and it's been a while since I brewed an IPA because we just haven't had the opportunity to have folks over. And when I have IPA, I like to be able to smash it while it's delicious and fresh.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't. Yeah. I don't want to be drinking out of a keg of IPA for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I totally get it. I have 5 on tap right now that I struggled the last couple of months to get them on tap, just so I could have beer in my keezer and get it flowing again and start in anticipation of having people over. And then I blew my CO2 this weekend. Put a new keg on, and I think I got a leak in my pin lock or something, and I dumped my CO2, and I'm all out of gas, and I can't pour beer. So we're all there, and
Womp.
it won't flow.
I'm so sorry.
So hams it is. God damn it.
You do you, boo. It's fine.
What are you drinking, Bryon?
I'm drinking homebrew.
Hey,
Only
got
one.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Hey,
1
the
out of
rest us
6.
look bad. Why don't you?
Not bad.
Go and get yourself a store-bought brand beer. Go to Aldi right now and get one of them.
That's the rest of what I have in my bag. I promise I'll drink store-bought the rest of the night. It's this year's MHC gold medal winning double IPA to be, right? Because you gotta have a little confidence in yourself.
So double snakes and foxes.
It is double
Nice.
snakes and foxes.
I had a glass of that the other night. It was delicious.
I like how your camera automatically blurted out, and they were like, "This is a logo." No.
Yeah.
No. Oh shit!
It
Oh well,
is.
no.
Nope.
Grimace.
No.
Awesome.
Technology.
Very
Very
good.
good. Very good.
So we're supposed to be talking about KLOB, I guess. All you gentlemen are in KLOB.
This is kind of like a regular club meeting. I don't know what to tell you.
Not too far off point.
I was gonna say we've made it 13 minutes in and haven't touched the topic yet, so that's good. That's
Just like one of us is
regular
drinking
club meeting.
Yeah.
So is Bryon going to be our source of information tonight with history a little bit, or who knows
Jeff
a little bit about like?
Jeff might know. Jeff's probably been in the club. He's definitely been in the club the longest of any of us.
No,
Okay.
I mean,
so he's
Alex
probably a
has
little bit
been
more
in.
familiar with it.
Alex has been in longer. I don't know how much longer, but I know he's been there before.
Well, Alex
Or it
ain't
was.
here.
I
Yeah,
get
he's
that,
on
yeah,
vacation.
no.
Yeah.
That-
I mean, I joined KLOB. I think I joined KLOB in like the later part of 2008, and
Oh, wow.
I think we only, at the time, maybe had 20, 25, 30 people, maybe, I don't know exactly. And at the time, we were meeting at one of the members had a pole barn in the back that he had made up for it be like his buddy's poker and cigar area. And so we meet there and just drink and chat and do our presentations and whatnot. And then unfortunately, he passed away, like I think about 2 years later, and his spouse decided that she didn't want us around. And so we end up over at Old Dog before it was Old Dog. Was Sean owned the building, and he allowed us to come in and use the space to meet. It was not a business at the moment; it was just basically a vacant building. But he was kind enough to allow us in there and meet while he was in the process of getting it up and going. And even after he had it up and going, we were continuing to meet there for some time. And then during that phase, we grew quite a bit. We went from like the 20 or 30, like I said, up to well over 100. And
Wow.
maybe like just a few years or 5 years maybe or so. And it got to the point where you just couldn't distinguish who was a patron, who was a member. And so at some point we decided to move over to Boatyard, where we were up until when they decided to close. So we the club started in I think in 1993. So it's been around for some time, for quite a few years. And I think we still have some members who were among the originals from that time frame. I think Andy Grindle is one of our most senior, both but maybe in age and also membership wise. And then I know that Killerly Stearns has been around quite a while too. Dave, I can't remember Dave's last name. Starts with a V, but there's a few members who have been there probably from those very early years. I don't know exactly when they started, but they've been around almost that entire time frame. Andy has been around almost every meeting, or whenever he can when he wasn't working second, third shift type schedules. So he's been there for quite some time.
Right on. Yeah, I think I started going in club when you guys were in Boatyard. I can't remember what that was, though. Probably 2015 or something like that.
Yep.
And there was a pretty decent turnout back then, 25, 30 people. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
How have you guys been doing through COVID? Like, have you been mostly virtual or?
COVID has sucked.
Yeah.
For I think for all the homebrew clubs, we've done. We were doing primarily virtual meetings, and we've done a couple of things where folks could get together. When Hoosted's, we always do cider out at Hoosted's, and they opened up an area where we could go and hang out outside and have a bonfire or such this year. It was a good time to get folks out and about and see some people face to face and be able to share a little bit of beer. And we did that all outside, spread out, and there was a pretty good turnout for that throughout the afternoon. It was good to see people. We did a get together right at the end of February outdoors at Presidential. I love those folks over at Presidential. They always do what they can take care of us. We had beautiful weather for the day. We only had probably 16, maybe somewhere between 15 and 20 people show up, come and hang out outside. It was kind of the usual suspects with a lot of that, and then we did a get together kind of / meeting over at Valhalla. I don't know how to. I need to ask Tom how the heck to properly say it. I mean,
it's Valhalla.
I'm sure I slaughter it every single time it comes out of my mouth, but. And we had a really small turnout for that. There weren't a whole lot of people that showed up, and I think we were looking at having a meeting next week, but I think we're not. I think we're not going to do a in-person meeting next week due to the numbers here in Michigan are just ramping up, and it seems like since we had minimal turnout at the last two events, especially the indoor event. I think with COVID numbers how they are around here, that people would. I don't think it would be profitable for the place that we're looking at having it to even open the doors for us during the time. If you're only going to have 8 people show up and drink beer for 2 hours, so we'll hopefully in May everything's going on a lot better. I mean, I still go into work in the office right now, and in different departments, actually, my department last week, there's a small COVID outbreak. I mean, we got like 4 people out right now in my department out of 8 of us, 4 of them are home, 1 from contact and the other 3 with COVID. So, I mean, it's raising its ugly head, and hopefully we can get through the hump and get back to some normality and get out and drink some beers with people.
I want to tack on to some of that too. We've also done a fair amount of, like, I'm sure Keepers has Zoom kind of calls or Zoom crafts, and we've done a couple of like Zoom happy hours. We had a couple of presenters who have come in and talked about like Who came and did that really cool presentation on the history of beer in Kalamazoo specifically? Who was
It
that?
was Kevin, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Keith or
Keith,
Kevin?
Yes.
Keith.
Or Kevin?
I think,
Came
yeah.
in-
Kevin or Keith?
I thought it was Keith.
We're
it might
changing
be
each other's
Kevin.
opinion at this time.
It's all of some guy, his name starts with a K. He came in and did this
Yes.
excellent presentation. It was a 2-parter and like just talked about like beer in Kalamazoo specifically. And like had a really excellent PowerPoint presentation. It was one of those things where like I was actually usually when I work from home half the time anyways. So like usually I'm zoomed out and I don't want to like do any more meetings online. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But this stuff was like genuinely like interesting. And it may have been because I had a beer in my hand and I got to be like social with my buddies afterwards.
Right.
But it was very well done. You know, we had a couple of sessions like that. At the risk of touting my own horn, I put on, you know, we organized kind of a holiday like KLOB brew thing. I put together a whole presentation on what a traditional Norwegian Yule is, and like I ended up in my own backyard brewing enough to like drop off at Alex's store, and like people go and pick up a bottle and like a little 3-pack, and like while they watch the presentation they could sample and taste and do all kinds of stuff. So like we've done some like stay at home kinds of stuff too. We've just been kind of doing what we can to survive essentially. So
Yeah, I really think that's the way it's been for a lot of homebrew clubs. We've talked to a few during COVID, and I think, you know, Zoom has been mostly the go-to, and turnout's been lower. I don't know how many do you guys usually get on your Zoom calls?
We've had quite a few sometimes, but typically it's maybe 10, a dozen maybe. But we've had I think for the holiday one we had probably 25 or something. I think was a count.
I'm sure the free beer had nothing to do with it.
But yeah, sure.
Sure, it
Just
wasn't because
back-
they had this really dope presenter or anything like that. Like, no,
Yeah.
nothing like that. No.
Just to jump back to the presentation that Drew was mentioning, I did a quick look. It's Keith Howard. He actually is at the Kalamazoo Public Library, and over the years he's been putting together some research on basically the history of brewing in Kalamazoo. So I thought it was great because he actually showed maps overlaid with current streets, so you could actually see like where some of these locations were back in the 1890s and whatever. And so it's really like, oh, I know where that's at. Doesn't look anything like that now, but I know where that is at. So I would recommend him if you ever want him to come in person or something. He's pretty enthusiastic about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I pulled him up on Facebook, or not on Facebook, on the Google. Love to reach out to him to have him on or something.
I'm sure he would love to like be able to come in person too, where then he could be then rewarded with all those delicious samples of homebrew that people could offer him. Be like, that was fantastic. Tell me more. You know, because that's half the fun of going to a homebrew club is that you get to taste everybody else's stuff. You know,
It really is. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's ultimately, I think, why I got into it, is to get somebody to taste my shit, right? And give me feedback and try other people's stuff too, but mostly to taste my shit. Yeah.
Well, it's the only way you can get feedback other than competitions, and that's the one thing right now is competitions are really limited. I mean, there's typically in this time of year would be the time of year that you're kicking out. You're sending all kinds of beers out for different competitions, but there's very few right now. What do we got? We got NHC, we've got the state fair. I think I've seen like one or two other little ones pop up, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am working with the Michigan Beer Cup people, and we have had a couple of meetings. Or I guess I am part of the Michigan Beer Cup people.
Go on.
And we had a meeting, and we were at the time very, very focused on getting a comp out this year, making Michigan Beer Cup happen. But I haven't heard anything in the last couple of weeks, so hopefully that'll be up soon and get through. But yeah, man, Michigan State Fair registration is open right now. So if you're a home brewer and you're listening and you want to get into a competition, that one's a cheap one.
Get on that.
I mean, a wit beer took best of show, in 2019. So, what's your
Okay.
props to Adam Cagle.
Adam Cagle. Yeah.
You won a bunch of medals in that, didn't you, Jason? You won
I did.
4 ribbons or something.
I did. That was the competition that I won the most awards at in the single competition was Michigan State Fair 2019. And then my buddy Adam Cagle took best in show and promptly shit on my 4-banger. The big giant trophy. So I still say fuck you, Adam, but yeah, we got to walk around the fairgrounds afterwards, though, carrying his big giant obnoxious trophy. And
it's giant.
Everybody,
I've seen that.
Oh, it's massive.
It really was huge.
I'm sure it's designed so that people say, "Oh, what'd you get that one for?"
Uh-huh.
Everybody walked up, and then they were really pumped when they found out it wasn't for a chicken or a duck.
I have the greatest look. You're like, no, I had the best brew, bro.
It was in the beer tent too, mostly that
beer
carried around. So yeah.
And then people in the beer tent, because they were selling beer with tickets, right? And people kept throwing tickets in the cup for them.
Oh yeah.
We had so much beer, and we had to drive 2.5 hours back. The 3 of us carpool together, and so there was no way. It was really cool though. But Michigan State Fair registration's open. Entries are $5 a piece. They're capping the competition out at 300. So if you have a beer you want to sign up, you got to sign up fast. That one's going to sell out. And then keep your eye out for Michigan Beer Cup. Hopefully that one will be soon. But you're right. Competitions, feedback. I still think that's the best way to get feedback. That's, in fact, next week Bryon and I were supposed to come and do a presentation for you guys on brewing beer for competition, and I guess we're not.
Feedback is key.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't get us wrong. We'd love to have you still because I want to get
Yeah.
that session. So like,
If you guys end up doing like a virtual meeting or something, maybe we can still do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so we won't talk details here on the pod, but we'll talk after. Sounds dope AF, man.
We're happy to come
Yeah.
and talk and do it. We were looking forward to getting out and doing it, but I get it, and I think it's the right call too, Bryon. It's spiking right now, and we got to do what's right by Final Gravity and the club. And
Absolutely.
so
The
I think it's
last
a good
thing I
call.
want to do is like create an outbreak for one of our favorite breweries,
We get our own super spreader event.
We've
Be
got
like
history.
named after KLOB or something. Yeah.
Maybe we get our own variants.
Yeah, there you go.
It like becomes like alcohol
It's the
tolerant
secret
or
ingredient in
something.
my next brew.
Yeah.
It's like it's the KLOB variant. Like he's so terrible.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So, what are some of the things that you guys, normally talk about at your meetings? Like, what kind of topics? I know you talked about the Kalamazoo history of brewing. That was cool. We're gonna totally steal that one. But what else ideas can you give us to steal from?
Yeah.
Typically,
Well, if that's the case, we usually do a poll kind of at the beginning of every year and kind of check in to see where the interest is and what's going on. Like part of that is you don't want to if everybody's already an expert in or it has no interest in yeast strains, you don't really necessarily want to bring in a yeast expert to talk about yeast strains. But if everybody's like, oh man, yeah, tell me about that sweet yeast strain, then you definitely want to bring that in, So kind of like gauging where your interest is at is key, right? I remember one of my favorite, it was before I was who I am today in the club. I specifically remember being like, I want to learn more about this electric brewing shenanigans. And the next thing we knew, we had an electric brewing thing. I was like, oh my God, the power is real. It was amazing. But I was fascinated by it. The only, up to that point, the only, I had heard that electric brewing was a thing that you could do. I knew that you could go in there and if you weren't afraid of electrocuting yourself or building something that would electrocute or shut down your entire house, you could go in and try and build your own brew kettle and stuff. And but it was cool to get in there and talk with. It's Bryon from
It's probably Brian Pierce because he
from Bright Eyes.
Bright Eyes, yeah.
Yeah, he gave the presentation, showed us his electric brewing setup that he helped kind of get put together and stuff. And then like for me, who was like, tell me more. I want to know more. He was like, yeah, sure, man. This is how it goes down. And walked me through the process of like the joys of having an electric system and being able to create, consistent brews as a home brewer. And I was like, man, that sounds great. Like I like to think I'm rather consistent, but we all know that like I am the novice in this group. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like,
so you were excited about getting an electric system, but yet
well, and like I said, and I think this was or I don't remember if it was earlier in the podcast or pre-podcast. Like, I was gonna get an electric. My burner burnt out, and I was like, "Oh, this is my moment. I'm gonna get an electric system. This would be dope."
I think that was pre-show.
No, you want to get like. I challenge you all to go check it out, and if you find something, you let me know, and I'm gonna buy that shit. But like in the meantime, like all the systems that I had an interest in, or the ones that are affordable, have no. There's no like, oh, we'll be restocked again in April. No, there's none of that. There's like the ones that aren't affordable, like the Spike Solo looks awesome. I don't know if you guys know anything about that one. It is fancy, it is sexy, and it is good. It is also like $1,500 that I don't have to necessarily spend on brewing right now. And that has a 3-week lead time on it. So like,
you should.
I don't know, man. Like,
you should dust off that position you have. Email John Blickman.
Right.
Tell him that as a representative of KLOB, you need to do some trial testing.
This is imperative. We're doing research for the homebrew market, and it would behoove you in your best interest. Hey, John Blickman, if you're listening to me now, John Blickman, I'm available for testing.
That's right, testing. I gotta grab another beer.
Crank my mic around a little more. Make your podcast unlistenable. So, but that's it's a real thing happening right now. And like at the time I was pumped. I was like, this is the coolest thing that's happened this year. I mean, for a young home brewer with no experience, it was fun.
Yeah.
How long have you been home brewing?
Me? Ooh.
Yeah.
You remember the great Michigan earthquake of like 20?
Yeah, we're still rebuilding.
It happened on my birthday.
That was literally my first day home brewing.
So it's your fault.
No. It was my fault because I summoned the secret ingredient earthquake, and I've never made a beer that good ever since. Right?
Slosh.
It just like it had enough like I could never recreate it. I tried.
I'm pretty sure that every beer that I've ever brewed is definitely 10 times, if not 100 times better than the very first beer that I brewed.
Oh, yeah.
I can guarantee you the first beer that I brewed tasted horrible, but we were like, we made alcohol. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That trumps anything.
That's exactly right. And like, I was so excited. I was like, I made this. It's beautiful. It was not beautiful, I'm sure. And I've always like chased it, right? You always chase the dream. You're like, I'm going to recreate this beer. And you drink it and you're like, it's not as good as I remember. The reality is it's like 30 times better. And like, you just made it for the first time. So that's your best thing you've ever done. So,
you have nothing to compare to.
Right. And I had friends who had nothing to compare it to. And they're like, oh my God, you made this is amazing. Like, at that point, you're sitting there, they're going, I'm going to start a brewery. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm doing it the rest of my life. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually how a lot of breweries get started. Yeah.
Yes.
Just that way.
You can't be a home brewer and have
Mr. Beers, all you need.
not ask you when you start your own brewery.
That's right.
I thought real
Should
hard.
we do a business plan? No, man. We made alcohol. Let's just go for it.
Knowing what I know now, I'm like, oh well, I shouldn't have been as proud of myself as I was, but that's great. Good job, good Drew. That was great.
Back to the topic, though. I mean, typically we try to go back and forth between like style, like history of a certain style on one meeting where we'll be able to supply some samples, and then we'll have something that's more process oriented, like having
technical,
like
yeah.
Lance from Omega come in and talk to us, or having somebody from Bell's at the general store come in and talk to us, having an outside presenter from the brewing industry come in and talk to us. So we try to do things like that a lot more often. It's usually pretty heavy on style and certain types of beers that we'll focus on throughout, and we try to line those up the calendar year, and then trying to look from local professionals, whether it be folks from a hop farm or somebody who is a hop more of a hop distributor, or somebody from, like, we've had presenters in from like the Michigan Barley Association, that get into the nth detail about barley, or like Lance going into a bit of a deep dive on yeast. We've had folks in from White Labs doing a dive on yeast and such, and just things to educate people as much as we can. I mean, we really try to lean heavily on the education side, to have something that you can reach out and be able to ask some questions, instead of just reading a book. Although books are fantastic. I mean, like, I know you guys have had John Mallett on, we've had John Mallett come in and speak with everybody, and he went on a super deep dive on malt. I mean, where I know he went beyond everybody in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because that guy can go on those deep dives.
We did that. Like when we had Lance on, I mean, even Lance on, we had Lance on the show too as well from Omega. I think just, what's just simple, everyday, biology to him was just so
complex.
Complex and cool. It was so neat to get, get that viewpoint and have them come in. So that's cool. Yeah. I mean, we definitely need to get more presenters, I think, going in for keepers. We're trying to do a lot of self-generated content, and that can stress people sometimes. Although, your comment about electric brews, we just had a couple of members do last night was a whole show on electric brews.
Listen. Don't lie to me about this. Like who are these people, and like why?
No, as soon as I process the video,
I thought we were gleaning happy, fun, lucky go information from each other so that we could build each other's clubs up to be awesome. Wait a second here.
No.
I feel like I've been cheated. What's going on here?
It's really, it's really, we are building each other up, and you can absolutely. I will get this video posted on YouTube soon.
I actually some of my favorite club members are also members of Keepers, so I have lots of very good things to say about Keepers.
So a lot of us were club, a lot of us started club. Some of us just didn't like Monday nights as meetings, and then
I get that. Yeah.
And here we are.
You're out on a Monday night.
But I don't have to leave.
Funny you say that. Oh, so I see. So you really just wanted to move away so you could still be in a brew club, but also like create a podcast that runs on Monday nights. It makes perfect sense.
I still how we got started on and why Monday nights, but I don't remember. I think it was Brian's idea. Other Brian. I'm sorry, it was other Brian.
Yeah, other Brian. I think we were originally going to
podcast. What's going on?
Well, so here's the thing:
or Fridays or something like that.
If you're gonna drink, like everybody drinks Friday night, right? Like it's the end of the work week. Like you just drink. It's whatever. Saturday night, usually. Sunday night. I mean, like work starts the next day, and you're like, God, I really don't want to like work. Like I'm just gonna have a few drinks. Nobody wants to like go another few days and then drink a whole lot and then go another few days into the weekend. So you just keep the streak going, and so yeah.
And let's be honest. There might be an other Michigan-based beer podcast that airs on Fridays. There might be.
So it's funny that we started without actually knowing that they existed.
I didn't even know they were a thing.
Yeah, that is true.
And I
That is
listen to their
true.
shows now. It's better on draft, and
Yeah, better on draft.
and they have some amazing guests on, and their shows are like pretty fun to listen to and stuff like that. I had no idea that they existed up until 10 episodes into what we're doing.
I was gonna say we were a couple of months in, and then it's like then we had this like crisis of faith. Like, what did we just do? We didn't, nobody knew who they were.
You know what?
So
Like you can't.
we are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't compare yourselves, but B, like, I don't know, man. Like, this is the people have talked about, you know, the pandemic and how it could potentially create some kind of a renaissance of new content and new arts and new, like, podcasting is a new
Yep,
art
I can
form. Let's be honest about that. That's an art form that was not available in the first. I mean, there probably was. It was people in the square giving speeches, and they're like, "Let me tell you about the world's greatest," you know, in Shakespearean
Somebody's
times,
writing that shit down and posting
Italian, la di la di da, like, you know. But like we've talked about, like it's been kind of known that this is kind of a natural progression. Like, we're all locked in. We don't have stuff going on. Who the fuck cares if there's another thing doing the same thing that you guys thought of also? You know, like,
I'm
people
pretty sure
have
you're
this
not the
little
only
bit-
two doing it either.
I was just
Oh,
going to say
I
it's
guarantee it.
amazing that we only found
It was
one
more the
so far.
Michigan space.
Yep.
You know, and I think it was one of those things like we came into it, we found out they existed, and it's like, and not only that they existed, but they had, I don't know what, Brian,
like a following.
17,000 episodes.
Yeah, they've been
Something
going
like
for like 7-8 years or
Yeah.
something. It's like, oh, there.
But they span you know the country. They don't focus specifically on Michigan. We do have overlap in a lot of the
They
same
have
guys.
Michigan specific episodes now.
They do, yeah, they do now.
No, I don't
For good
mean
reason,
that.
because
They're very
there is
interesting. They're
better
awesome.
beer in the rest of the country. I don't know.
We've had, yeah, I mean, we've had the same guests on, you know, and they're different shows. So
I don't think there's anything. I don't think you have to justify yourself or anything. I think you guys kick
No.
ass.
just like to bring it back to this, just like Keepers, different clubs, man. Keepers and Club.
We're very much more like homebrew focused, and I mean, every time it comes up, like we're more of an extension of our homebrew club, honestly,
Sure.
than our own show almost sometimes. So
If that's the case, then really thank you for having us on board.
yeah,
Now that we know what's really going on here. Like,
when you guys gonna join Keepers, by the way?
Yeah. We should do like a dual club special, or like convince somebody to give us like a double discount to get people to join both of our clubs. So it's not
oh,
just
that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's put that. Hey, Jeff, being treasurer, like make that happen. Just like,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Somebody else do that. Okay, great, cool. Like,
Yeah,
We
yeah,
run
yeah.
like a pandemic deal and stuff all in the fall. So
you know what?
It's-
maybe we could
We
do
have-
a tie-in again.
Well, we've had like, competitions between our clubs regularly. We should do, like, I'm not saying we should give up the competitions because I do think they're fun.
Yeah,
Like, and
definitely.
it's friendly competition, like, which is great. Like, and I think it really brings out our chops in some levels. Like,
Yeah.
like we do KLOB roast every year, where we get our home brewers together to like show off our stuff and to eat like barbecue and food and hang out and just like, again, just like we rent a space in the park and we make things happen and cause trouble and just have a great old time. The purpose is to hang out outdoors and everybody can bring like
Beer.
bottles, they can bring a keg, they can bring whatever they want. Like, just, the
I've
point
got
is to share and celebrate our own brews.
Say,
we
I've got
should
a Club
do-
Roast glass somewhere.
Right. I almost got mine. One of my many. Yeah, there you go. Brian's got us
Nice.
I have one.
repping. Oh yeah,
Yeah, rep.
yeah. You're repping. I'm not repping. I've got a sleeve on mine. So.
But go ahead.
But-
We should do what?
We should do a collaborative one where it's just like the idea is that like we're celebrating, like we're just
Yeah.
getting some food together, we're getting people together, we're causing trouble, and like if we can do it somewhere where we can all camp out so we don't have to drive anywhere afterwards, that would be
Oh.
excellent, right?
So you're on track there, man. We have talked about doing a camp out, but have you ever heard of the Michigan Homebrew Festival?
Yes, I knew that's where you're at.
You know,
with that.
Recently, yeah, but I've
Okay.
never been. Are you
So,
inviting me to
that's
come?
really-
It's beer
Yeah,
Christmas.
so that's how I started, right? I started in KLOB, and I started going to the Michigan Homebrew Festival, and I got really super pumped, and I came back to KLOB, and I was like, let's all go to Michigan Homebrew Festival, and I couldn't get I couldn't spread the gospel of it.
I understand.
And so I just
think we
kept
should
going
do
by
it.
myself.
You know what?
And then,
I have a question.
go
Have
ahead,
you
Brian.
been
You two
What's
raise
that?
your hands too, and we'll do it on the next one.
there you go.
Come on, come
Hey,
on,
there it is.
come on.
Let's do a.
Is this
Put
like
your
an
hand
official
over
KLOB
your
motion?
Like, let's get a.
I think you do.
Yeah.
So we are now like indoctrinated into that's our big annual thing, right? Keepers, we go to Michigan Homebrew Festival. That's my beer
Yeah.
Christmas. I started going to MHF by myself. I joined Keepers. I got 2 people to go with me one year. I got 8 people to go with me next year. Last year that we had it was like 20 some odd people.
Yeah.
With spouses.
It's a
I'm
huge
inflating the
party.
number.
It's amazing.
I get that.
But it's like 19 clubs from around Michigan, 300 people, 3 days in a private campground.
That sounds so terrible. Like,
And-
and by terrible, I mean like I'm so in. Like, it sounds
It's
amazing.
heaven.
I feel like I'm going to be like regretting most more.
And Drew Drosser makes a great
Oh,
comment. Somebody else is doing it. So traditionally, it's like it was me, and then like Jeremy Gavin from Primetime in Grand Rapids were the only guys that would show up to Michigan Homebrew Fest from the West Side. And now we've gotten more, and Primetime showing up in force. And there's another club in Grand Rapids. I forget what they're called.
Oh, they're out of the Red Salamander or whatever that used to be.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple other clubs that are showing up from the West Side, but we need more West Side. We go out there.
Yeah,
it's
West
all-
Side
it's like,
represent.
it's like Crips and Bloods, man. We gotta
Dude,
go
I would totally be down. We could totally let's rent a bus. Let's rent a fucking bus and get both of our clubs on there. We can have one side can have the Keepers flag flying off the side. The other side will have the KLOB flag, and we'll just like go riding in like a couple of Valkyrie
Fantastic.
Vikings, like kicking ass and taking names.
We
Like,
need
we're like,
somebody
you
on a
guys be like,
chariot.
You
Almost like a Mad Max scenario.
Oh, dude, yeah. So we need a guitar player who can stand on the roof and guitar with like fire bursting in the background.
Trailer with the tats out the side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do it, man. Oh, we got. I mean, we have one of those, don't we? Like, let's play this game. You know?
April says that's a camping fest. There is more beer than camping that's been had at home.
I appreciate the sentiment.
But yeah, no. So we are really hoping to have Michigan Homebrew Fest this year. Probably smaller than in years past.
And this is the third weekend in August, I think, isn't it? If I remember.
It
Yes.
is. It is traditionally the third weekend in
Yeah.
August, which coincides with the KLOB roast, doesn't it?
I think it has in the past.
It has, but we've-
I think one of the last KLOB roasts we split it around because it seemed like we used to do it towards the beginning of August, but that seems like kind of people's last summer hurrah. Where like so many people have weddings to go to in the middle of August, and or their last chance for vacation before the kids go back to school.
Yeah.
So we slid back into September, which can leave you with a little bit sketchier weather. But I mean, shit,
Yeah.
it's Michigan, so
Yeah.
we're used to some sketchy weather here.
Yeah, you betcha.
Could be
Because
40 or 80 in
The
September.
whole thing to make Michigan Homebrew Fest legal, everybody has to buy a membership to the Michigan Homebrew Festival Club.
Right.
So that we're all in a homebrew club. So it is Michigan's largest homebrew club. And I tell you what, man, and me and I think the other keepers, we all feel like that. We met so many good people. It's
Isn't it for that one day like the largest homebrew club in the country?
Yeah.
So
That's
Or-
and,
Yeah.
and
That
just
is so cool.
the friendships we've made. So we got to get you guys over into that. Even if we have to.
Even if we don't rent a bus, I still vote the bus thing.
Even if we
But,
don't
like,
rent a
if we
bus.
don't rent a bus, like we'll get there. Sounds good.
we'll
We can
get
still
into
do the
that.
flags and the guitars. Like that's
Okay,
fine.
sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some pyrotechnics ready to go. So,
All right, Jordan, you're on top of the bus.
All right. I gotta grow my beard out more. Maybe do a mohawk.
My wife used to work in the theater biz in costuming. We'll make you up so you don't have to worry about the rest of the
Badass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get
there
you
we
looking dope. Like it'd be great.
Right on. So we mentioned it earlier, trying to get back onto your club. Big Brew is in 2-ish weeks. What are you guys doing?
We started that conversation.
Yeah. I don't.
Circling back to it.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
I
think-
mean like as a club, we started that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a group, we were kind of looking at like, what do we do? I mean, because we've got typically we go down to like
Bright
Eyes
Eyes or
got
something.
Area out front, and Bryon down there. He's always awesome with hosting us and such. I'm kind of up in the air whether we do something virtual or do something in person. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think like if we have a couple people down at Bright Eyes, some folks might swing around throughout the day. I mean,
Yeah.
then I'll have both my shots. I know Drew's had both of his shots. I don't
I'll be
know
there
if
too.
Jeff's got vaxxed up yet, but we've all been working on getting vaxxed up so we can get this economy back there and shit, and people in person and get some herd immunity here to get rolling on things. But
like we
and really we want to get. I try to do everything that we can to give guys an opportunity just to get out and get together. Because I know in the couple of times that we have had get-togethers, the people that have come out, some of them have said that's the first time that they've got to come out and have a beer with like other folks in a year. So, I mean, it's a great thing to be able to get people out and be able to get away from just regular everyday things and just be able to have a beer with some friends.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we talked about doing smaller, letting people do, smaller little group get-togethers.
3, 4 people maybe or whatever, something.
Yeah. Last year we did it virtual, of course, because I think we had to. Brian, in the conversation last night, since I skipped the meeting and Jordan slept through it,
I did.
that's amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
did any talk of doing the small groups as virtual? Like we could even set that up and still.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were talks of doing a few small groups. There were talks of doing a brew thing over at McQuillan's, like a lab. And so for those of you that don't know, one of our members has his own little like a brewing area, basically, like in like a rented out like kind of warehouse space that he uses to make his beer and stuff like that.
It's McQuillan Lab, where you might, you may brew a beer, you might get touched inappropriately. You never know.
Wow,
It's
sounds
100%
a
chance of one of
experience.
you.
Yeah.
You're
might
making
just
it
feel
very.
A beard brushing on the back of your neck. Just go with it.
You're making a great argument for creepiness. That's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and call that right out.
It's McQuillan.
He's got some cool ass dogs, though. I mean, Matt's got some cool dogs.
Oh, he's got.
Yes, it
Wait a
does,
second.
yeah.
Is it the dogs that are touching you? Because that's different. Like,
No.
It's possible. They're
I think-
Irish
I think you
bulldogs,
pushed
so they
that
can
creep.
definitely touch you.
okay,
Oh yeah.
that's weird. This conversation getting very weird.
I think we can tick that one off of our topics for Michigan Brewers. I don't think we've talked about that yet. That's good. I'll write that down. Make sure.
Let's see. I don't have a banner to go with that one. Sure, we'll go with this one. The more you know.
The more, yeah, that works. Yeah. Too bad we can't have it like play in the
Could be
background
the more
behind
you
us all,
know,
the
or
star with the rainbow.
Fuck
Yeah,
around
right,
and find
like-
out.
The whole thing. Let's do it.
Brian, I think you were talking about
Oh.
Tom earlier when you were mentioning your last meeting. Tom says buy a bus. So
Yeah, Tom.
yeah, absolutely.
Tom from Valhalla.
From Valhalla. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
I think we should.
Well, he owns a brewery. He can buy a bus.
Yeah.
Just bought a brewery, bro.
Tom, sponsor
no,
us,
that's not how
Tom.
that
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gonna be rolling. I
Give the
mean,
guy a
that's
break.
little
He's
money
giving
on
us
my house.
delicious beverages. He's not going to buy a bus. That's not even in the same category as brews. Okay? No.
It starts
Tom,
with a
you're
B,
good.
and-
Don't you worry about a thing. I got your back, bro. It's cool. We'll buy the bus.
We'll just all ride
We
in
can go to your
Drew's car.
brewery.
Drew is the biggest guy among us. with the smallest car out of the whole group.
That's also true. Yeah.
You have like an old. Like,
What
I
do
don't
you
know, but
drive?
that new Ford Bronco looks fucking good. Oh, Arr, this is not a car show. Anyways,
Michigan drives. We need a banner for that one. There we go.
Yeah, it is not a car show.
Yeah.
I do.
So I have this. I'm going to try not to show the label. I have this beer, and see, it's got this stuffer on the cap.
Yo.
And I thought, oh, that probably just happened after they canned it. You know,
No.
I'm going to take it down now. And so I poured it anyway. I just had to go dump it out because no, that did not happen.
Did you open up something the last show we had that like exploded all over your desk? Like,
no. The last show was 5 Shores, and that stuff was all great.
okay.
What the fuck was that? Was that the seltzer? I said, "Oh, you can shake this shit."
Probably. You guys are pretty a few sheets to the wind.
So I had to run and dump a beer.
I feel like that's
Hopefully,
okay.
I don't. If I fall out, in a couple of minutes, it's food poisoning or some weird shit thing.
No.
Food poisoning probably won't make you fall out. It'll make you have the shit tomorrow morning. But
So tomorrow, speaking of vaccine, I'm getting my second shot tomorrow. So tomorrow's already fucked as it is. I think tomorrow night.
So I can tell you that like it didn't any side effects besides an appreciation for science happened like 24 hours after I got my shot, almost to the dot. And like I don't want to brag, but I didn't have many side effects. Like it was like I got a little fuzzy for about an hour and I was good. But I do know other people who had
Yeah.
other things happen. So
I've heard the whole gambit, and like an idiot a month ago when I did this, I blocked off tomorrow when I should have blocked off Wednesday. So,
you get poked in the meat, you're like, oh, I feel sick. Like yeah.
So now I need to figure out what to do with Wednesday, but whatever, it's all good.
Well, it could be quite the adventure on Wednesday. Is what I'm hearing.
Or you work remote, so
just drink beer while you're working.
I mean, I think what you do is you just drink a lot Tuesday night, and then if you're feeling ill, you're just like, oh, it's definitely just a hangover.
It's the beer flu.
Definitely. Yeah. Even if you have one beer, hangover, like whatever it might be.
So what's everybody drinking now?
Moved on to some Ferndale beer. You guys ever had anything from Ferndale Project over near Detroit?
Negative.
Very good stuff. They're sort of like the experimental branch of Eastern Market Brewing Company. So a lot of like New England's fruited sours, pastry stouts. That's kind of like their sister company of Eastern Market. But they do good stuff. And they deliver over here occasionally too. I think Saturdays to the Kalamazoo area. So yeah, busted into something called Rise and Shine.
Nice.
Rock and roll.
Citra and Idaho 7.
I found this. I found this Old Nation Pils lager.
Wow.
I've been big on the lagers lately, and I found this in the fridge downstairs, so grabbed it. I brewed a ordinary bitter a few weeks ago and used Lutra to try to get some of that like pseudo lager type stuff, and it's good, and I can't drink it right now because I'm out of CO2. But I've been on this big, lager, Pilsner kick. So that's like all I want right now.
I've been saying for
And
years.
I ran out of hams. So hams is that day.
Where'd you get a tall boy of hams?
Dude,
They come in anything else?
I don't
They
remember.
they come in 30 packs. That's the only thing I've ever seen them in. Like, yeah, where'd you get the tall one?
I just buy 6
think,
packs of tall boys.
Yeah, Rite Aid around here has like 16 ounce.
That's the fucking shit right there. That's how that goes. Like, you're like a wizard
Party.
staff pro. Like,
It doesn't even need the duct tape.
anybody who's played that game, that's a fun game. Easier to do with pint cans than it is with 12 ounce. But
Yeah. So McGuire says he's drinking with something with C on the cap. Is that some of your shit, Brian? I'm sorry if you're drinking Brian's homebrew.
Something
Tom.
had a C on the cap.
That's what he said. Something with a C on the cap.
Tom and I, we've done a lot of drinking with my stuff lately. I think that anything that I gave him, we've thoroughly crushed.
So
I don't think it's mine.
I have a whole case in my closet behind me, literally a whole case of homebrew that people have given me over COVID that have no markings on the caps, no markings on the bottle. I have no idea.
We keep saying we're going to do a mystery beer show.
I feel like that's a great show. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing show.
I would
only
love to
rule is
partake with you
open
guys
it
if you're
over
offering. I don't know, like, if not, I think I would watch that. I would tune in for that episode.
I
Just
said
to see
I got boxes of unknown shit in my cellar. I don't know what it is. So
Yeah, but it's different. Like if it's your shit, like this, I know is stranger's shit. Like
No. That feels like a great. Everybody gets a blind taste. It's cool.
absolutely.
Like,
I mean,
I don't know who you gave it to me, and I don't know what it is.
there's probably some of Brian's shit in there.
What we do, Jason, is we get together and we put all of our bottles into like a 24 pack or whatever, like a case, stick like stickers on top of all the caps or something, move them all around, and then each of us just takes bottles.
No. That's a really great meeting idea right there.
Yeah.
You get like you then like you mix them all up, right? And you put together 3-packs, and you have like a designated pickup point for everybody in your club to pick them up, and you get on a Zoom call, and everybody has to explain or describe what they're drinking at that
What
point
the
in
hell
time.
they're drinking?
Mhm.
It
The
looks
only
like
way that gets better is if
tastes
you
like
know
a
what it
barley
is.
wine. Who knows?
Yeah, right. You could be drinking weed infused this, or you could be drinking like the world's worst like Budweiser
Actually,
foam. It could
That's funny
be
you
anything.
mention that
Like,
because I'm pretty sure there's probably a Matt McClone weed beer in that mix.
Oh, no.
I'm
Oh,
almost
no.
positive one of those is
think those had green caps, if that helps any. I think.
oh, so we have an idea now. Oh,
I am actually
Oh,
going
is getting-
Is he just
I'm
gonna
actually
grab
going to
one?
fetch another beer. I'll be back.
All
No,
right.
no, this is supposed to be like a club, like a show.
no green
This
caps
is-
in that box.
This is a collaboration show. This is a
Thank
show
you.
where great minds come together
These
to
are
talk
my
about
favorite
shenanigans
shows.
and beer.
These are my favorite shows.
Whatever. What else do you want to talk about, Clom? Who in your club brews weed beer?
Has anybody done
I
that?
don't know if anybody's brewed weed beer. I got some weird shit from Carl that he had like aged on wormwood.
I mean,
that I
I know people
haven't
outside the club who have like
drank
offered
yet,
me
but-
like Green Dragon and stuff, but that's not beer. That's like, weed infused vodka and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we have my fair share of that too.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
No, from what I understand, so McClellan's given me 2 bottles of this. And I haven't had the chance to drink either. They have to be in the fridge downstairs. Then they're not in that box.
Right.
But from what I understand, it tastes good and it catches a great buzz. So
I will say I went out to San Francisco 2-3 years ago for a buddy's wedding of mine, and one of the breweries I stopped at. First of all, there's a company that does tours where you get in a VW bus and then they take you to a bunch of breweries around San Francisco. That's fucking dope.
and
Okay.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Second of all,
Yeah.
one of those breweries is like, by the way, these 3 beers brewed with weed, and you're like, I want those 3 beers. Give me those 3 beers, please. It was great. So if you so look those people up. If you look up, like VW bus beer tours, they're there, they're around. But I mean, like I did have some. I know that like again, this is all hearsay per se because I actually don't. I'm not a big weed person. It's not really more
No,
beer.
of course
like,
not.
Yep.
I mean, like whatever works, whatever gets the job done, But I know that like the cannabis plant like has similar qualities to the hop leaf. So brewing with it's really like you can get some really great flavors out of your beer if you decide to brew with it. You're not going to get high. I mean, like that's not how that works. The THC doesn't exactly. I mean, unless you know what you're doing. But like,
There you go,
like
Matt.
it's not
You know what you're doing.
fair game. But like you can get some good flavors, I've heard, like from people who have added cannabis leaves to, their brews, especially if you want to do like an IPA style.
I've heard that. You're right. I've heard the same thing about hopping with it and things like that. But
It's terpene.
at Homebrew Fest, we've never really wanted to go down that road. So it seems like every year at Homebrew Fest, we always have to take Matt and tell him no.
I feel like it's a really good idea to not go down that. Like, feels like a really great way to get the spins and not be able to recover. So.
Yes, it's illegal to brew commercially in Michigan from town
Well,
fire, and I think it is most places. We just broached into this, and that's why with Michigan Homebrew Fest, we actually had, he wasn't even a paid member of the club. So at Michigan Homebrew Fest, we put up a bar. All the clubs put up bars, and we take like donations of kegs of homebrew to take with us. And this guy reached out to us and he's like, I've got this keg of THC beer that I brewed that I want to donate. And I was like, I appreciate it, but I'm not taking that to Homebrew Fest because it is illegal to serve commercially in Michigan. And we're sketching the line of this whole homebrew club. Everybody's a member, 3-ounce pours already. We don't need to add weed on top of that and in the murkiness of it. And this guy got like really pissed off at us that we wouldn't take his
Jason, you were in the right. Don't worry. Like, you're good. Like, if you need like reconciliation, you were in the right, dude. Like,
I think I remember that conversation too. That you back a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, it was a couple of years ago, and me and David, like we told him like multiple times, and he got, like I said, he wasn't even a paid member of the club, so it's not even like. I think that was like one of our things to be like, look, you're not a member of the club. We're not taking your beer.
No, screw that. No, like. That's really cool. What else you got in there? Like LSD, and like some other shit? Right. Like, come on, no. Like, who the fuck are you? Go away. Like, I don't know. You might be best friends with this dude. I don't know. But like, I feel like that's a little weird. Like, if one of my buds who brews beer, who's not in the club, most of my friends who brew beer are in KLOB or in Keepers. Those are the two options, right? In Kalamazoo. Right. If one of my friends was like, I just started brewing beer and I want you to take this to Homebrew Club, I'd be a little like, what'd you do? What?
See, at the time though, honestly,
I want you to drink it first, and I'm gonna watch, and then I'm gonna drink it, and I'm gonna hope it's not bad.
So I can tell you from experience, anybody that would have dropped off a beer, as long as they wouldn't have announced that it was THC or LCD or LED or whatever, I probably would have taken it. As it was, I think that year we got to Homebrew Fest, and there's this kid that none of us had ever met before, but he was actually a member of the club.
Yep.
Somebody comes up and goes, "There's this kid that says he's part of Keepers, and he just dropped off 2 kegs." And he disappeared, and we don't know what this guy looks like, right? Because nobody knows who the hell he is. But fuck it, we put his beer on tap. Like
we did.
Yeah. And he showed up that night. It was like, and I think everybody around was like, who the hell are you again? Oh, whatever. Your beer's number 7. Go.
Yeah. We should have put him on bars.
That's the great thing about homebrewers. I mean,
I know
everybody. Yeah. Pretty
it was
open
good
and sharing and friends and
agreed.
That's what we talk about Homebrew Fest. There's very few beers that we actually dump out. Everybody tends to bring their good shit, and what's great is you get to walk around from bar to bar and you try something you like, and the dude's sitting there and he's just ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
and share his experiences.
That's one of the. Have you guys gone to NHC before? That's one of the things that you definitely learn.
No.
Just the one time in Grand Rapids.
There are dump buckets around that place for a reason.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I would say there's not a lot of dumping going on at Homebrew Fest. I mean, there's some. I've done some. Unfortunately.
I can think of.
No, I didn't dump the bean soup.
Fair game.
Brian's taking us on a journey.
Right?
Yeah.
We get to experience the living quarters that is Bryan's.
Oh,
I mean,
just going outside for a cigarette after.
Me being a judge as well, me being a judge, I've been in competitions where we had some particularly bad beer come through. That yes, you don't want at all.
Yeah, thanks again, Jeff. I actually think this is the first time you've been on the show since you judged the beer for Keeper's Cup. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate
Oh yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
Jeff was one of our judges, and we're gonna do a BJCP show sometime soon-ish, and try to get you and Ian and some of the other judges on to talk about the BJCP.
Alex and I'm not sure Hillary would join them, but he'd be a good one too, probably.
Yeah, but yeah, I've heard the flip side from judges that say that, you know, like they you get a lot of bad beer competitions.
I wouldn't say a lot, but it's either everything's okay or great, and then you get a handful of some really bad stuff.
Yeah. I would say at Homebrew Fest, it's tends to lean towards the better stuff, maybe because it's a club setting and they've got other members of their club telling them like that shit or not.
Well, and I feel like you're repping your club, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. I consider myself a fair brewer. Like, I feel like I'm okay. Like, I feel like I can hold my own. Does that sound good? I would not consider myself like the best brewer in our group, and I feel like I'm far from there. I feel like I have a lot to learn still, and I've got a lot to like get to that point. So if I went to KLOB, like, unless somebody else in the group looked at me and said, Drew, we should brew this thing that you make all the time that's really great, I wouldn't even consider, like, I'm so, and it might just be my own, like, you know, self-confidence, like being like lower, because I think my stuff I brew is great and I drink it all the time, and I'm biased because I made it myself. But I don't know, like, I would feel a little like on display knowing that like my orange Hefeweizen, my Paddington beer, if you will, is on tap, right? Or out and about for people to taste and like be a hardcore judge. I was apprehensive about putting my own beer in my club only because like I'm so nervous about like what other people are going to think of it. And like that, and I often do. Don't get me wrong. I bring my beer around. I give it to people to taste, and I'm like, "Oh man, this is great!" Like, I'm proud of it. I hope you don't think it's shit. This is great. Check this out. And for me, a big step was like brewing and then sharing that with everybody this last December. But like, I can honestly say that like, there's a lot of there. I don't know. Like, I'm. For those of you who don't know, I was an opera major in college. Like I do music, I do all the stuff, right?
Really?
Like,
okay.
Yeah. So like, I think that when you're right, we can get into that later.
It comes out, man.
Yeah.
But like when you talk about art and you talk about like creating craft, anything, right? You're putting yourself out there. You're putting like this level of vulnerability out for people to like talk about and taste and see, right? And like food is different than visual art, which is different than performing art, which is different than, you know, the next thing, right? I get that. But there's a level of vulnerability there that I think is really important to kind of acknowledge. So like as a club, when you're putting something on tap and you're representing your club with that, like you're putting your club's vulnerability per se kind of out there, you know? And I think that that's like one of the reasons why I personally have a lot of admiration for people who are like brewers in our community or are starting their own brewery. You know, that it takes, there's a lot of steps. Like you could be just a superstar right off the bat, right? That happens in all kinds of art. That happens, like you have these like expert dancers and you have these expert musicians, you've got these prodigies and stuff like that happens, you know, but to jump the hurdles for people to be like, this is something you need to share with the world is a big deal. And like, I don't think we think about that when we think about craft food all the time or in craft beer. I don't think I've ever had a conversation like this in regards to craft beer, but I can absolutely say that like, there's something else there. And like, as somebody who has created art visually or music, like auditorily, you know, right. I have to say that like, creating it on another, again, abstract sense, which is taste, is like, it can be jarring. It can be really like if you're like, I grew up, I went through college with criticism. Like that's what, when you're an opera major, when you're a music major, it is criticism. That's what you're graded on. Did you do well? No, you get an F. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, do better next time. And like, but there's more to it. There's
Be
like
better.
there's learning experience
Better.
and things that happen there too. But there's you know what I mean? There's something else there. So
Yeah,
when I think
absolutely.
you've got a club being represented by your breweries, like I don't know, like there's the anonymity is great because then you can kind of submit things and call it a day, which is why competitions are wonderful, you know. But at the same time, there's for unless somebody walked up to me and said, Drew, you make a really great X, Y, and Z beer. We'd love for you to bring this to the next Michigan Homebrewers Association Club thing. I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, if I wanted that to happen, I'd be like, how do you feel about this one I made? Is it? You tell me. I don't know. You tell me. You know. So,
But no,
like,
that feedback and criticism, that's what I think, you know, Bryon and I, that's what we try to bring to the club.
Yeah.
And bring that feedback. You know, I always tell people enter competitions because your buddy's always going to say they love your beer. You enter a blind feedback, you know, and Jeff's going to try your beer and tell you the truth because he doesn't know who you are and he doesn't like you, you know, or somebody like that. It's the truth.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like getting that open criticism. I try to do it for the club with the beers I try. I know people bring me their beers and I try to do it no matter how much I love somebody or you know, want their beer to be great. If it's bad, I try to give you that open feedback.
Yeah.
And we've had that, you know, we've had kegs submitted to Homebrew Fest before and we tap it and we're like, oh shit, you know, something's wrong. And the brewer that made it makes great beer. And I know he makes great beer, but something's wrong with this beer.
Yeah.
And we had to go back to him and
there's
tell
too
him.
much oxidation. There was something, you know, whatever it might be, like they let it sit too long, whatever it might be, you know.
I think it tasted like he brewed it right after they like flushed the hydrants with chlorine or something.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember this. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
And so it's hard to do, but you've got to do that, right? You've got to be able to give that criticism because we're not.
And I don't disagree with that at all. And I do think like Tom's made some really great points in the comments, and like everything you said is also spot on. And that's how we grow as people and as artists, as crafters, if you will. Like I agree with all of that. But there's also a level of knowing like your community that you're sharing it with, because like I would do better with it, constructive criticism. Like these things you did really well. These are the things that suck. Like knowing
a safe space.
You know what I mean? Like being in a being in a safe space is really important. And I'm not saying that we don't have those in our clubs. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that like making sure that people know that is what's being portrayed in your club is important, because and I don't like, you shouldn't have to get up every club meeting and be like, hey everybody, just so you know, this is a safe space, so we're going to talk about your beer. Just know we great. I'm not saying we do that. That's not how we roll. Like, right. But I think that like there's got to be a way, like when you're tasting somebody, like, I don't know. And maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just like, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, is what it really comes down to. Maybe I'm paralyzed with my own fear. But I don't know. It's worth talking about and kind of knowing.
Yeah, no,
Thanks, Drew.
Sorry, I was looking at that one. Wow. You know, Bryon, feel free to slam him. I'll, you know, pull up whatever you want. But no, like we started, you know, right before COVID hit. I think we started talking about some other clubs I've seen out west do this thing, like, you know, like a tune-up corner or a comment corner at a club where they've got a couple of people that are maybe BJCP or you know, just somebody that's familiar with the styles, and they're there to specifically give that open, honest, you know, hard feedback sometimes. And you bring your beer in and say, you know, and I know McQuillan, like he's talking about his honey cream ale in there. McQuillan brings me beer multiple times. I love talking to him about it because he takes the feedback really well, and he makes, you know, he makes changes or whatever, and he fucking goes out and wins medals with shit. And that's the kind of thing you got to have, that open mind. I want to get feedback, and then you got to have somebody like us that's willing to give that feedback. So
absolutely.
That's part about being in a homebrew club community. That's really
it's the best part, in my opinion. It's why I got into the homebrew club. I got started in homebrew because I wanted to learn more. A, but B, like for the same to loop it back to the beginning of the episode, I wanted people to taste my shit, you know.
Hell yeah.
Hey, good conversation in the last 20 minutes, everybody. Sorry I dominated that.
No, seriously, not at all. I think that's like one of the reasons why I would find myself so hard pressed to open a real brewery, is because I would be so scared of like the actual feedback from the public. You know, people who I don't know, who don't know me, who can only know me through the beer that I make and distribute and that they drink. And I feel like however they judge that beer is a direct like reflection of like who I am as like a person, and like my skill and like my intention and stuff like that. It's just maybe it would be super great, but like maybe it'd be really awful too. Like I don't know.
Man. Like I hear you that, and I did know I just did a lot of talking, so I am going to shut up after this last bit. But like, based on what you just said, like I say this all the time, like it's tough. I have a lot of respect for our brewers in like our area in Western Michigan, because there's a lot there. There's not a lot of wiggle room for bad brewing in our area. If you're a bad brewer, if you have a brewery and you're not good and your beer doesn't show it, you don't last very long. You know?
Yeah.
And the pandemic has done some really like hard things to some really great brewers in our area, you know. Like Tibbs is under, and they had excellent beer, in my opinion, you know? I mean, I like them. I don't want to speak for everybody in the group. Okay, fine. I see a lot of like, okay, Drew, whatever face. But that being said, like, but that's part of it, right? Like we have so much good beer in just Kalamazoo. Never mind, you know, Grand Rapids and some of the other surrounding areas. We have so much good beer here that like to open up a brewery and have that, you know, the bravery to be like, I think I can compete with these excellent brewers. Like, good for fucking you. That's great. The crowd is hard. Good luck. Like, you know,
the thing that catches me about brewers, and again, not so much for the people we know that, you know, because we have friends that have opened breweries and they're successful and they've done well. But I think for the general masses, for the home brewer that's out there going, I make this killer IPA, I should open a brewery. There's so much more that goes into it, right? There's the whole business piece of it. You know, I've talked to brewers that their breweries are still running, but they're no longer with it because, you know, they found out that it wasn't brewing beer; it was being a salesman, or it was being some kind of entrepreneur. So,
Tom, you're doing God's work. Don't you dare stop. You're doing Odin's work. You keep going, okay? Like, fucking don't shit that. You're good, dude.
Or being a janitor. Being a janitor is a big part of brewing too.
Yeah, being the janitor, you know, the all of the things that go into making a successful brewery that has nothing to do with beer. That's my cautionary tale.
Yeah. Being a restaurant, worrying about food, menus, like all that. You're getting into the restaurant business. It's not just
making the actual beer is probably like maybe 20% of the work there.
Yep.
We've talked to Jake and Kaylee about that, like their whole like restaurant portion of their brewery and like how important that's been to like their business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're my fucking heroes with what they've done and what they're doing to make that successful and rallying the community. And Kaylee's a fucking Facebook warrior, like defending all of the restaurants in Kalamazoo. Like they're amazing. But there's so much more to it than just brewing, and that's what I always try to caution people that talk about it. Like, and I've had people call, you know, and I know people have reached out to Bryon and been like, let's open a brewery. There's more to it than just brewing beer.
Yeah, a lot more.
I like it as a hobby.
Certainly easier as a hobby.
I'd rather open the Hutch's Hideout Brewery in my backyard. It's going to be a shed that I build and that people can come to, and we'll just drink. It'll be great.
Yeah,
there you go.
Hutch's Hideout, TM 2021. Okay.
So this year we can look forward to it.
Mine Hutch is called Hickory Brewing. It's in my basement. It was my COVID project. It's a full bar. 5 beers on tap, but I can't let anybody in yet because you're all fucking COVID.
Because I'm disgusting. I get it. It's fine, Jason. Thank you.
We're all possible zombies.
It's
you're
almost
getting
over.
We don't know.
Yeah, shot 2 tomorrow. It's almost over.
I've got 2 weeks until mine. Although I think it was. They say you're not supposed to have very bad side effects from the first one, but
I didn't.
This whole
I didn't either.
This
I
whole
didn't either.
past week I was sick, and I had the
called allergies.
vaccine like just a few days beforehand. So I kind of wonder if
I was out for a day after my first Pfizer shot.
Yeah.
I had the shivers, the colic,
I was out for a fucking week.
But Quillen, it's once I'm vaccinated.
Second
Once
one's
I'm
gonna kill me.
vaccinated, you're getting the fucking bar invite, buddy. No, and I'm a big traveler. Like I travel for work, and that's been killing. I haven't gotten on a plane in a year, and I get the second shot tomorrow, and I fly in a month. So I'm
Missing out on all those miles, man.
I know. I call it California beer.
I can look up that weed brewery if you want me to. I can.
I'm SoCal. I never go north, man.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, South LA, Orange County.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right on. So, what else you guys have for KLOB coming up in the near future? Anything big on the plans besides Big Brew and?
Besides collaborations with Keepers.
Out in the middle of May, we're gonna do a get together out at Hoosted's. Where they're gonna. I mean, those guys are awesome out at Hoosted Farms, and I know that they're looking at hosting us out there in May. They usually, or in the springtime, they usually do kind of a get together for everybody to come together with the ciders that they brewed from the cider that they collected back in November.
Oh, awesome!
Out there, and Scott usually has a big throwdown out there for everybody, and it's pretty open for he'll bring a bunch of different cider folks out, and then there's some guys that have. I know one of the guys that comes out there on a regular basis. He's done some pretty big sweeps in some of the bigger cider making contests. So, and he brews incredible cider, which is always phenomenal to be able to.
It's a real treat if you can get your hands on it.
It's a real treat, and he gives you a ton of feedback, and he's very transparent on what he's done to make his ciders. And really wants to help you to make better cider. So he'll give you insights on what you've got. And it's feedback, back to the feedback again, which is one of the reasons why we really like to get together as a club is all for the feedback, because everybody's palate is a little bit different. Different. Everybody's might be sensitive to certain things. Like I'm too sensitive to diacetyl, and there's some folks that are desensitized to other things. I mean, for instance,
give diacetyl the green apple.
Give Jeff a smoked beer. It's got to be like you're on the backside of the campfire for Jeff to taste that smoke in that beer. Am I right, Jeff?
Smoke. Yeah, smoke is my bane. I mean, if you tell me that you use smoked malt. Even if you tell me if you walked by smoked malt, I'm going to be like, yeah, this is shit.
No, I like some of the Bamberg smoked Bach beer and Weizen that's 100% smoked malt.
Holy shit.
No.
Wow,
There's more people in the club that know that I hate smoked beer, and I think it's one of their fun activities is to get me to drink.
Put an ounce in it.
Oh, it's like
that's what all your mystery beer in the
pumpkin.
back is.
Yeah.
Hold up, is your Mr. Beer in the back all smoked beer? Are you afraid of that? Is that why you're not drinking it?
There's a good chance there's some in there. You're damn right.
Shit, dude. That sounds like
I'll do that on camera. You'll see that. It'll be fucking gone.
I can tell you if Jeff hands you a smoked beer, it's basically a campfire in a glass.
So I've tried to do it. So there's some of them at the club, if they're watching Nate or David and things like that I know that have done it to me. I always try to put on my judge hat, which I'm not a judge at all. I'm not certified, and I probably never will be because I just don't have the goddamn time. But I try to taste it and offer feedback based on the beer. Like let me get around the fact that I want to vomit in my mouth, and let me taste. I can tell you it's a properly brewed beer. It's there's no off flavors other than this hideous smoke flavor. There's shit like that. I try to do the best I can before I spit it out. And I just don't want to give them the pleasure because I know they set me up for it. So
that I want to say, like Tom McGuire says, don't come try my smoked wee heavy. I think that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that sounds great. That's a smoked wee heavy. I think
I do need to come out and
a few
see
commercial ones that have that, but
I've also included there's a smoked black tea I've included into with smoked malt as well. So
LIbation
I remember that one. That was good.
LIbation Shushong, yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Okay.
Listen, Jason, you don't know what you're talking about in this instance.
Yeah.
Just my constructive feedback there, man.
I was curious because, to me, smoked malt has a lot of, like you said, campfire or smoked meat, but the LIbation Shushong is much more like ash type notes to me than the smoked malt. So I want to combine those two. See what that's like.
You missed a word there. It's ash tray. Ash.
No,
tray.
well, it's just it's not cigarette ashtray, but ash.
Oh, it's just fine.
Anyways,
that's right.
I have had it, and it is smoky, but not like overpowering by any means. It's very much more like integrated. Nice. All right. Well, no, that Hutchison thing sounds really cool. I've actually got a keg of Perry that I made off of the cider press that did last fall.
Same.
I'll try to bring some out. That sounds fun.
We did a back to back of, was it my Perry and Brian's Perry?
They were way
one
different.
Of those shows.
Yeah,
and they were almost the
you guys did,
thing. Like we even used the same yeast. I want to say
the sap cider.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and they were completely different beers. It was weird, or ciders, rather. But yeah,
I actually forgot I had it. I was going through kegs a few weeks ago with Bryon, trying to find a keg I could dump out.
It's like we can bring it back. We'll do a triple back.
Yeah, I've got it now. I know which one it is. I knew I had a batch of beer that I didn't like that I was going to dump out to free up a keg. And so Bryon was over, and I started tapping every random keg that we can find, which had a lot.
I'm not mad. It feels like a really good Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning.
It wasn't.
I feel like it was like a Wednesday.
Something stupid like that. Yeah. And then we tapped it. I'm like, holy shit, that's Perry. And he's like, yeah, you can't dump that out.
It was, yeah. It was good.
Yeah. So
it was nearly full too.
It was absolutely full, man. I haven't tapped it at all. Yeah. So it's part of the thing. I think I have 18 kegs, and I use them for the club, at Homebrew Fest, because that's my big thing. I'll keg other people's beer. And so we actually went out in the garage and found, I think, 3 or 4 kegs of, I don't know whose beer this is or what beer's in it. And it was cold enough, though it was still early in the spring, right? It was cold enough that the kegs were relatively chilled. So we just tapped them and we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're dumping that. Or oh my God, we're dumping that. So bring it to the lab for hand sanitizer. I needed the keg that day, Matt. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry I dumped it. So you can
sometimes you need a keg.
Hand sanitizer that, because it would be illegal for you to distill it, but hand sanitizing it is perfectly fine, right?
Making beer essential oil.
There you go.
Yummy. I have a lot of thoughts on that. That should be episode 52.
So we're actually, we've talked about doing a Michigan Distills show and trying to get a distillery.
Yep.
I've not done it yet, but I've thought about. I have a lot of thouts about it. I have a lot of thoughts.
There's a lot of folks in our neck of the woods that have.
He hasn't done it yet either.
Done.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, people wouldn't lie on this show, right?
I've had
That's what I thought. Okay, cool.
I might have had some pretty tasty homemade whiskey
Maybe.
from folks in our club. Yeah, definitely.
Say no
Unfortunately,
more.
it's
I
one of
understand
the
what
things
you're
that
saying
I still
completely.
haven't distilled because there's three things that I'm not allowed to do in my marriage. I'm not allowed to go on the roof when nobody else is home. I'm not allowed to be underneath a car that's up on a jack when nobody else is home, and I'm not allowed to distill. That's
Okay.
the three. That's the three lines in the sand that I have.
I think Megan's pretty smart there. Those are probably all three good.
Right.
reasons.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
For
First
what it's
two,
worth,
at least.
Brian, I don't live that far away. I could come and help you with two of the three things.
Yeah.
The third one,
I
you'd
could
have to come to me.
actually have a distilling. I could have a still. I just can't use it on our property.
There you
But I'm pretty friends with the guy who lives next door.
go.
There you go.
Nice. Well, I was going to go into what our next show is going to be, but Bryon canceled that on us.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you guys a quick question? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Does my
We're all
audio
waiting.
sound different right now? Like
Yes,
all
it
of a sudden?
does.
No.
God damn it! I've been using the wrong mic this entire episode.
I was gonna say, I was gonna
You
mention
sounded
that to
very
you
nice.
early. I was
Why
like,
didn't
you're
anybody
very-
tell me?
I thought it
Like,
was
I
just
would
because you
have
had your mic
known.
sitting on your desk or something. But yeah,
Because
you
we're not
sound a
good
lot
at
better.
giving constructive feedback.
It's been set to
Bryon.
this thing on the side of my head the entire episode, so my bad.
Gotta love having multiple mics plugged into your computer, right?
yeah, exactly.
That's like when
Discord
we
does that
did
shit to me all the time.
the in-person show like a couple weeks ago, and I had the mic turned so that the dead spot was towards Bryon. So he
That
was
was good.
muffled the whole show.
Oh, wait, were you using
Yeah.
your desktop mic, your condenser?
Yeah, I was using my
Yeah.
condenser, but
Yeah,
I guess I had the backside of it turned to Bryon. You
Yeah.
could hear David and I just fine, but Bryon was on muffled.
Yeah, it's super great. It's a great episode.
Unidirectional.
Well, so we don't have a show for next week because we were going to film us. Bryon and I were going to film ourselves giving the presentation on Brewing for Competitions KLOB, and actually use that as our show. But now that that's, I guess, canceled, we get it and understand and totally support that. So we'll see if we can figure out another show, or we'll just get on and drink. And you guys can come back and drink beer with us next week if you want to just sit here and bullshit about what the fucking topic was anyway. Doesn't matter.
I mean, that's every week, right?
Right. So we'll figure that out. And then for the future, I don't know. We're working on some other shit. So probably
Sounds
take
good.
the last week of the month off. I don't know.
Hey, man, you do you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. Thank you guys for showing up and hanging out with us and talking with us. Now I'm going to do our thing where we pay our intro or outro. Our outro.
Thank you so much for having us. You know,
Yeah.
I had a lot of
Every-
fun. Cheers.
On the
Everybody can
18th,
hear
we're
us
recording
talk
a
through the
new
outro.
intro, right?
Oh, we're
Yeah.
going to do the new intro for the outro. And we'll actually have an outro that they can't hear us talk through.
Yeah.
So there's the outro. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Wait.
Whoa.
Wait.
Whoa.
I know that was supposed to be our
Outro,
outro.
Bryon.
I know that was our outro.
What are we doing?
God damn it. Now I got to do it again. All right.
I can't toast more than once.
Oh my god. We're going to have a podcast soon. We're converting all of our episodes into a podcast. So
Oh, that's a good point. The show's not over yet, folks. We're going to have a podcast.
3 outros.
Sorry, Drew. Sorry if your arm's getting sore.
uh,
We're going to convert all episodes into a podcast as soon as Bryon gets off his ass and does it.
we've gotten asks because when you're listening on your phone on Facebook or YouTube, you literally can't exit the apps without the audio stream.
Oh, that's
ending.
a good point. I never thought of that.
So we're going to convert all the episodes into podcasts and edit out all of the bullshit intros and outros that don't make sense and leave the ones that do.
But we
Like this
are
one.
also next week getting together with some seriously cool videographers fucking Ripjaw Media, Sam and Travis Ross are going to be filming an official intro with the three of us at the Distant Whistle, hopefully, as long as they tell me between now and then to fuck off. And we'll have some different music. We'll have some real video. It'll be cool. And then we'll figure an outro out on that too. So soon we're gonna have some new changes, and then yes, podcast coming up. I'm not playing the outro for a third time.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for
Cheers.
doing this tonight. Yeah.
See you.